to another review. Today I am reviewing I Feel Pretty. Do I feel pretty after having seen this movie? No, not in the slightest. I Feel Pretty is a 2018 American comedy movie written and directed by Abby Kahn and Mark Silverstein. The movie follows an insecure woman who, after suffering a head injury, suddenly thinks she is the most beautiful woman in the world. This movie feels like Shallow Hal just flipped around. For so much of the movie, I kept thinking about Shallow Hal and how much it was reminding me of it. That aside, I'm going to start in on the cons, that way I can attempt to end on a lighter tone, or try to. Let me start by saying I was not looking forward to this, and I am in no way an Amy Schumer fan. That being said, I did not come out hating this like I thought I would, but that's not to say I don't have issues, because I have a ton of them, and I'm happy to share those with you now. I think this movie has failed to allow its lead actress to sell the message of this movie, and oddly enough, it is in no way Schumer's fault. It's all the writing and directing choices. The beginning of the movie was actually great. I found myself relating to Schumer's character and how she is so insecure and doesn't like how she looks and wishes she was beautiful. Her problem is she's the only one thinking these things about her, as is the case for most people. So the movie sets up that it is going for this message about self-esteem and self-worth, and that being beautiful ultimately isn't about superficial things such as weight and beauty, but it's about confidence and how you hold yourself. The movie starts off selling this message, but then comes to the kick of the plot where Schumer's character suffers her head injury, and it's all downhill from there. From this moment forward, the only message I'm getting is that to find yourself truly beautiful, you have to suffer a brain injury. I understand this is comedy, but I notice how every other character is established as having insecurities and self-image issues, and yet they all find ways to push through it and not let those things run their lives. Schumer's character, not so much. I would not call Schumer's character post-concussion confidence. It was 100% delusional, and that's just as unhealthy as bad image issues, because neither of them are you accepting and owning the reality of who you are and what you have to offer. The character soon escalates from what I call delusional to flat out superficial and a snob, putting her friends down for not being pretty. These women aren't supermodels, but they don't have a problem with how they look, and because they accept how they are able to be themselves and still get guys. Character Vivian, played by Aidy Bryant, is twice the size of Schumer, and so to watch Schumer's character Renee constantly obsess over looks and weight in front of her friend, I found to be rude and insulting. Being plus size myself, I often had to hear my bone skinny friends obsess about how fat they were, which infuriated me, because if 55 kilos was fat, then I'm clearly one of the moons that's orbiting Jupiter. While I can sympathize with another person's insecurities and not seeing themselves as others do, when you start projecting it onto other people or rant about how much worse things are for you in front of someone who clearly has it worse, it starts moving from insecure to self-involved. And I felt this was entirely how Renee was projected on the screen. While the character certainly has some funny dialogue every now and then, I found myself pulling the same face as Naomi Campbell was pulling during this movie, because a few laughs couldn't lower my irritation. By the end of the movie, Renee has seen the light and is finally learning to accept herself, and that she was beautiful all along, that the only one making her feel ugly was herself. So the start and end of this movie were right on message. Everything in the middle was an epic fail. However, every other character in this movie I loved. They were all people with their own insecurities, and they all handled it differently, and I love that there were so many people for the audience to look at and relate to, because that's the truth. Everyone has insecurities, no one is perfect. What further annoyed me was how Renee responded to everyone else's insecurities. She responded like the self-involved person she was. If someone opened up, she shut them down, because if they were beautiful, what do they have to feel self-conscious about? It was this constant response of, because you are this incredibly aesthetically beautiful person, that you're not allowed to have problems. That's a load of shit and is so counterproductive. It is further perpetuating this unrealistic perception of what beauty is and what should come along with it. We all have problems, and if you judge someone based on their appearance, then you're the one with the problem. And it's clear Renee judges everyone by appearance, including herself. I don't believe this movie approached things very well, but Schumer's character aside, I've never loved a cast so much. Though I will say I was surprised and impressed that Schumer did not go insanely over the top in this movie. I was expecting it and it didn't happen, which was fantastic. It did allow for her more human moments to really shine, which I find important. While she delivers some decent comedy some of the time, most of her character's humor fell flat, while everyone else's was brilliant. Michelle Williams, who plays Avery LeClaire, was superb. She was without a doubt my favorite character. She was ditzy but smart, insecure but determined. She had this demeanor and this voice that made her unrecognizable. It honestly took me a few goes before I realized it was her. After Williams, I loved Rory Scovel, who plays Renee's love interest Ethan. He's an insecure male who doesn't think he's attractive or manly or has much to offer, and why would anyone want him? He's not your typical heartthrob leading male, but compared to the hunk who does show up in this movie, I would choose Ethan any day. His character is warm, honest, open, and sweet, and there is something so appealing about his character. He is the genuine nice guy that a lot of women would want to date. A huge surprise was seeing Lauren Hutton, who plays Lily LeClaire, Avery's grandmother. She was perfect for this movie and I wish we had seen more of her. Hutton is an actress who for many years in the start of her career was dismissed because she had a gap in her teeth, something I grew up with and got fixed and ended up with 2 gaps instead of 1. But later for her, her gap became her signature when she got her start as a model. I've loved her since her 1985 movie Once Bitten opposite Jim Carrey, and what I love is that I think a lot of her character in this movie can relate to who she is in real life. She's this woman who started her own empire, it makes millions of dollars, but she is still an everyday kind of woman and has that grounded quality which just makes her fun to watch when she's on the screen. This movie was a mixture of pros and cons. I think it was trying too hard to make Renee appear ugly when she wasn't. Schumer is not an ugly young woman. I think her personality is ugly, but physically she's not ugly. But this movie made sure that every other character around her was this ridiculously atypical, stunning model, so that by comparison she does look ugly. But if the movie really wanted to project how it's about confidence and how you view yourself, they would have let all the additional characters be normal everyday women, because then it would have had a greater impact to have her comparing herself to them and still viewing herself as ugly. Instead, you put her against the industry standard of beautiful, which most women in the world can't compete with, and that makes the entire point of the movie redundant. I liked this movie far more than I thought I would, and I actually enjoyed Amy Schumer, but this movie is still ripe with problems and for the most part takes the opposite approach on what it intends to do. While I understand this might just be my feelings, as 90% of the women in the audience, the cinema was all women, were laughing through the entire movie, I just wasn't one of them. I would also like to add they had all been drinking, so that may have allowed some of the scenes to appear more comical, but I can't prove that. I did laugh a few times, but there were some scenes where the setup and the dialogue was so far removed from anything even similar to reality that I wasn't sure what the movie was going for. Some hits, some misses, but it has everything to do with the script and nothing to do with the performances, which were great. Thank you so much for stopping by and taking pity on my poor little channel and watching this review. You're a real friend. And it means a lot to me. If you have seen this movie, comment down below, let me know your thoughts on it. We don't have to agree, that's cool, but I'd still like to hear your thoughts, hear your take on it. And if you haven't seen it, I don't know, still comment down below. Let me know if you plan to see it or plan to just give this one a big fat miss. If you're not already, please subscribe and don't forget to click on that bell so you stay notified of future videos. Until next time, bye.
If I was you, I'd wanna be me too. I'd wanna be me too. I'd wanna be me too. If I was you, I'd wanna be me too. I'd wanna be me too. I'd wanna be me too.